In September 1939, the German war machine seemed completely unstoppable. As Hitler launched the most brutal invasion Europe had ever seen, the world watched Poland fall in real time. But while every single Panzer, Luftwaffe squadron, and elite division was fighting hundreds of miles away in the east, Germany's western border was left completely empty. By September 7, 1939, Poland was fighting a desperate, losing battle against the German blitzkrieg. Millions of soldiers, entire Luftwaffe fleets, and every single elite panzer division were tied up hundreds of miles away in the east. Across the Western Front, Germany's borders were left guarded by a skeleton crew of second-tier reservists. In Paris, French Commander-in-Chief Maurice Gamelin recognizes an opportunity that happens only once in a century. But rather than charging blindly into the main defenses, Gamelin plays a tactical game of chess. On the morning of September 7th, French artillery opens fire along the southern Rhine near Wissembourg. Small, aggressive French units cross the river, fanning out toward the Black Forest. To the local German commanders, it looks like a major Allied flank attempt to bypass the Rhine entirely. Panicked telegrams flood Berlin, and local German reserves are immediately ordered south to plug the gap. On September 9th, with German reserves dragged completely out of position, the true hammer falls. 40 French divisions, supported by hundreds of heavy Char B-1 tanks and massive siege batteries, surged directly across the northern border into the Saar Basin. Unlike real history, where French forces took a few miles and cautiously stopped, Gamelin gives a direct order: push forward. The uncompleted, undermanned bunkers of the Siegfried Line collapse within 48 hours. French heavy armor bypasses minefields and rolls straight through the Saarland, taking Saarbrücken and establishing artillery positions within direct range of Germany's industrial heartland. On September 12th, news hits Berlin like a bomb. French troops are through the Siegfried Line and marching toward the Rhine. Inside Armed Forces High Command, General Alfred Jodl warns Hitler that the Western Front is on the verge of total, irreversible collapse. Germany faces the exact strategic nightmare it promised to avoid: a two-front war on its own soil, with no fuel or reserves to fight it. Facing total defeat, Hitler makes a desperate gamble. Orders are issued to halt the siege of Warsaw immediately. 2 full panzer divisions, motorized infantry, and vast air fleets are stripped from Poland, packed onto trains, and rushed west toward the Rhine. The sudden German withdrawal changes the entire course of the war in the east. Taking advantage of depleted German lines, Polish General Tadeusz Kuterzeba unleashes Army Poznan along the Bzura River. Teaming up with Army Pomorze, Polish forces smash into the flank of the German 8th Army. Without dive bombers or panzers to stop them, German infantry lines buckle. By September 24th, Polish troops carve open a wide supply corridor straight through to Warsaw, pouring fresh reinforcements into the capital and driving the Wehrmacht into a panicked retreat. In Moscow, Joseph Stalin watches the German retreat in disbelief. Under the secret protocols of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Soviet troops were supposed to invade eastern Poland the moment the Polish state collapsed. German diplomats sent frantic, daily messages begging for Soviet military intervention. But Stalin is a cold calculator. Seeing Germany trapped in a two-front disaster, he orders the Red Army to power down its engines along the border. He refuses to spill Soviet blood or risk war with France and Britain just to save a failing Reich. By late September, French forces reach the west bank of the Rhine and dig in. Heavy siege guns line the ridgetops, locking down every bridge and crossing point. When tired, disorganized German reinforcements arrive straight off the trains from Poland. They are thrown piecemeal across the river in desperate counterattacks. Without artillery preparation, German forces cross into a wall of French crossfire. The Rhine becomes a graveyard for German armor. As winter sets in, Europe suffers one of the coldest winters on record. But for Germany, the frost is fatal. Surrounded on 2 fronts and strangled by the Royal Navy's total blockade in the North Sea, Germany's war economy breaks down. Swedish iron ore and Romanian oil can no longer reach German factories. By January 1940, aviation fuel is strictly rationed. Coal shortages freeze entire cities, and industrial production drops by 60%. By March 1940, the German military aristocracy reaches its limit. Inside the Bendler Block, Army Chief of Staff Franz Halder and General Ludwig Beck realize that continuing the war means the absolute destruction of Germany. On March 14th, as Hitler prepares to order a suicidal spring offensive, military conspirators strike. Loyalist guard units surround the Reich Chancellery. Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels are arrested in a silent night coup, and a provisional military government suspends the Nazi regime. In late 1940, Allied and German delegates meet to sign the Leipzig Peace Treaty, redrawing the map of Europe. Poland emerges victorious, retaining its eastern lands, acquiring customs control over Danzig, an administrative mandate over East Prussia, and industrial border strips in Upper Silesia. Czechoslovakia is fully restored, reclaiming the Sudetenland. Lithuania regains Memel. Austria is severed from Germany and re-established as an independent neutral state. France establishes a permanent military occupation zone across the demilitarized Rhineland and the Saar Basin. The Soviet Union receives zero territorial gains, left completely isolated behind a fortified European security cordon. By acting decisively on the Rhine in September 1939, the Allies enforced the peace when it mattered most. The Blitzkrieg was broken before it could ever truly begin, saving millions of lives, preserving European civilization, and ending World War II in the autumn of its very first year.